Before Commerce Brain, she worked for Walmart.com, Shopping.com, Texas Instruments, Microsoft, and Intel, making online experiences simpler for customers and more profitable for businesses. So please help me in welcoming Yulia Smirnova.
Thank you, Can you hear me well? Oh, excellent. Well, I'm so happy to be here to see you guys on the last day. Just to get a sense who we have in the audience, how many people here are in the e-commerce? You're doing marketing? Oh wow, this is excellent. And how many people do conversion optimization? You consult, you have your own agency? Great. Well, either of you are going to know the secret, what it takes to get to profit in e-commerce. Or if you have friends who are also e-commerce entrepreneurs, you can share some resources later with them. All right. So, if you want to get to profit in e-commerce faster or get there eventually, all you need to do is to observe ants. It has a lot to do with ants' behavior. And let me explain you why is that. I live in the Bay Area, and there are a lot of scientists in the Bay Area that do brain studies, and they study populations of mammals, and one of them is Deborah. She studies colonies of ants. And what she found is that through years of research, that ants are self-organizing organisms, and they have colonies that just work itself on its own. They don't have central control in it, but the way they do everything, the way they survive and the way they reproduce is through their communication mechanisms. They smell each other, and those communication mechanisms are not the same for any specific colony. And their reproductive success pretty much depends on how they do that. Well, a lot of that has to do with e-commerce entrepreneurs. And the reason why I compare both of them, last year I did my own experiment, and I reached out to over 55 e-commerce entrepreneurs in US and abroad, and I researched who they are, what they did, and some of them are very successful. They sold their businesses or they scaled them to profit. And I did some research, looked them up on Facebook, stalked them for a while, and some of them agreed to spend some time on Skype with me and share their stories. And what I learned is that the most successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, they have the similar traits and patterns that a specific species of ants. So when I was watching this talk by Deborah at TED, I was realizing, oh my God, my e-commerce entrepreneurs are doing the same. So, but not every ant colony is the same, and even though they communicate, they smell each other, how they do it, how many interactions they have with each other, really depends on the environment, and it really affects their survival and reproduction further. So there are ant colonies that work in the forest, so they have low operating costs, there are a lot of food there, they have high competition, and if you observe those ants, they pretty much take the same leaf and they run around, they're very active, and they have really good environment. And then there are those colonies that live in the desert, and those ants have high operating costs, like e-commerce businesses, and in order for them to even go out for food, they need to spend water, and that's again cost on them. So let's do a little bit of the A/B test here. So which colony would you place your bet and you think will get to their profit reproduction faster? Anyone? A, that's in the forest, in a luscious environment that has a lot of stuff going on and high competition, or the one that has high operating costs in the desert? Probably A. A? A? If you think about it, yeah, maybe the colony of ants A reminds people who are entrepreneurs, they have a lot of VC funding, maybe they have money and they will get there faster. But the truth is it's actually going to be B. So what Deborah did, she looked at the reproductive success of the colonies, and she actually can track which are the fathers and daughters and so forth, and she found that the ants that preserve their energy, they are more resourceful in how they utilize their energy, they reproduce faster, they have more colonies. So the lesson here is that we have to be resourceful in order to get to profit faster. Now, that's not enough. And as I said, you have to pick your ends wisely. Now, all of us think that, okay, we have to be resourceful. That means we have to squeeze as much as we can from everything we have, from any business activity. So literally squeezing the tube. But this is not a right approach. When I talk to those entrepreneurs, they had a little bit of a different mindset, and that's very important to have the right vision to get there. Who in the audience knows what are the pictures here that I'm showing? Do you know what it is? Team should know, because this is very famous architecture. Anyone try? All right, well, I will spare you the time. So this is actually Green School in Bali. And this entire school of 75 buildings is built by a retired couple. And it's built from bamboo trees and all other resources in that area. It has no spruce, no nails, no artificial construction elements that we know in the industry. And it is powered by solar energy, by hydro energy, and also some elements of biodiesel. And every year it hosts up to 98 students, and basically it's a high school, and they teach students how to live sustainably so that they can preserve Earth and more resources for the next generation to come. This is the same mindset that a lot of entrepreneurs that I interviewed last year have. They look at their business long term, they look how they can leverage the resources they have in different business activities and do it in a sustainable way so that they get to profit faster and longer term. Now, what profit optimization has to do with conversion optimization? So this is a good fact for people who practice in the industry. What I also learned is that you apply the same process to e-commerce optimization as people in the industry do who do conversion optimization. You have to do the research, and then you prioritize where you spend your time for optimization, whether it's customer service or marketing or fulfillment, and then you experiment and see if that works. So that means that conversion optimization is going beyond just landing page optimization or marketing optimization. And when it comes to e-commerce, you know that it's a long road to get to profit. In fact, Andy Dunn, CEO of Bonobos, had a really good article on Medium. I advise you to go and check it out. And he walks you through the whole history of e-commerce and how the dynamics works. But people who are in the industry for some time do know it takes a while to get to profit. In fact, big companies like Amazon are not profitable yet, and so is Warby Parker and others. But there are e-commerce sites and entrepreneurs who make profit. Some of them I talked, and some of them I shared their stories in my book. And some of them maybe are still making under 2 million. They're still small, but they're getting to profit faster because they're using this mindset and they're applying conversion optimization process to their activities. And so they look at their margins and operational expenses. And then that's how they exercise the mindset. Now, if you have been studying conversion optimization for a long time, you know that these people are wonderful because what they do, they find ways where customers are living, and in a sense, they are patching this leaky bucket, right? Well, the difference of optimizing for e-commerce optimization is that not only it fixes the bucket, but it actually reconstruct the bucket. You have to change your perception. In other words, the same example I said with the green school. You have to look at your construction in this new environment, in this lush forest, but do it in a sustainable way, in a different way. So enough of the preaching. You probably heard a lot of this conference. Let's get to the basics and to the examples. The 3 ways you can scale e-commerce to profit is to focus on 3 areas. First, you start with the service and fulfillment. You do it smarter. Second, you sell better, right? That's a non-brainer. And third is you sign up customers, whether you're doing your customer acquisition or your ongoing promotions faster. So when it comes to service and smarter, what does it mean? It means that you have to resolve issues on the first contact. So first contact resolution will be your conversion rate here, right? And that's what you focus on. You have to empower your service people with productivity tools and hacks. And I'm not talking about ERP system, I'm talking about basic stuff like give them Evernote, give them Apple devices so that they are faster, help them to get information with a text message, or even replace those people with a text message if needed be. So here I have a good story with Yulia.com, and actually here you can see me and so Mr. G. He spent 3 hours with me on Skype. It was a night for him, but it was so awesome to talk, and he shared all those things he'd done to cut expenses in customer service. Yulia.com is one of the top 10 sites in India. They're similar to Amazon. They sell pretty much everything, and they're also a marketplace. But the situation for Indian entrepreneurs in e-commerce is that it's a very competitive market, and there is more supply, there are more e-commerce sites than shoppers. So what happened is that there was some study by Forrester, or I don't know who, I mean there were other companies that said, oh, there are 6 billion people who will be shopping in India. And so there were a lot of evaluations done, a lot of VC money flowing to India, a lot of e-commerce companies starting, but in reality what happens, only 3 million out of those 6 million are actually shopping, and then the rest people are just on their mobile devices, they're just charging their phones. And even out of those 3 million people, only some of them transact, because most of the time it's the husband who makes the purchase and finishes the transaction, not the wife who's shopping around and putting everything in the cart. And what happened is that all those shoppers became really resistant to promotions. So there is a lot of supply, a lot of goods, a lot of promotions, 70% off, heavy discounting, and you know, last day, last chance, you have to buy. People became really non-responsive to it because they know that there is another supply they can get it, or maybe a better offer, or maybe the same offer is going to come back. So people are not responding to this stuff. A lot of issues Yulia.com had, but first they focused on customer service. And so what they did, they looked at the call to order ratio, and that's another conversion metric for you in the service center. So they look how much time their people are spending. They did this research, right? They observed what people are doing. They created a better technology for them to log the information. They also stopped responding to some type of calls and put all this information online. They hid the phone number. They pretty much did a lot of things that are common to us here in the US, and they noticed big improvements in how much money they spend. They saw that they need less people, and they even saw that there is less returns that they experienced in. I have more details, but talking about customer service is kind of boring. But another metric, as I said, they looked at first-time response, and here they couldn't just replace people with technology. They had to incentivize them. And so they really said, okay, you guys have to, if you're going to respond to customers and fix this issue, you're going to get a little bit more reward to your salary. If you're not going to perform at this rate, then you're going to have to go. And there were probably 20 agents that were upset and then they just left. But after experimenting for 30 days, again here you see that they apply the conversion optimization process, they were able to reach good targets. So they were at 98% before, the target was 98%, they were at 73, and within 30 days they were at 96. Well, the whole idea with this story is that they really cut their costs by 40%, and they also looked at their sunk costs as well. In India, if you want to, everybody is doing cash on delivery, so this is pretty much something that you have to do and you live with. But what happens is this, an average shopper buys 5 items from different suppliers, and then whatever comes first, they take it, and the rest has to go back. Now, the shipping costs of going back are much more, like twice as much for those retailers, so that's extra cost for them. So what Yulia did, they said, okay, what Yulia did, they also called customers to make sure that they committed, so that takes human resources, right? And then they called again. And most of the companies, they just say, well, this is some cost, we have to do it. But Yulia.com replaced calls with a system from the zip dial. So now it's a zip dial that calls back and says, okay, if you really want this item, press 1. If you don't want this item, press 2. And then there is a set of series of text messages that also help to increase this committed level of shoppers. And the items that people didn't commit, they stopped delivering. So there are tons of other things that they have done, and you can look it up in the book. It's a little bit too verbose and intense, but the idea is that conversion optimization process works for customer service. Now in US, there are some companies that are very innovative and they apply the same principle, the same mindset to customer service. How many of you here stay at Airbnb? Well, this is the room that I have been staying for the last 2 weeks, and I've been using it for a couple years so far. I just love it. The whole booking process is done through the text message. So really, it takes me much longer to go and look for the room at hotels.com or Expedia.com. With Airbnb, it's much faster with a text message, and I can even do face talk with the owner, and she can show me the room. Granger is another company, retailer, that applies it to their mobile experience. What they have a live chat with a screen, with an image. So now, when the customer has an issue, they don't call, they don't text, they don't email. They just take a picture of the problem, they drop it to the live chat. The issue is being resolved while the customer is doing something else, and it's so much faster, right? Another example is Amazon Mayday button. Have you ever experienced that? The idea is very basic for people who do have Fire devices or HD Fire devices. They basically can push this button and the video comes up, the real person in real time says, what's your issue, let me help to resolve it. I mean, it's so much easier when somebody just tells you and shows you, right? Versus calling them, texting them, emailing them. And now, with a lot of technology showing up in the e-commerce industry, there are tools that can make it happen for you very cheaply. You don't have to be Amazon, you don't have to be Airbnb to make it happen. So here, I have examples of the tools that I demonstrated. Wizbee is a tool, I think the company is in Spain, pretty much does this experience with a Mayday button at a very low cost. Or ZipDial can be also applied here in the US. And then Twilio and Nexmo are two software technologies that pretty much can take your services communications into the text format and automate it very well. That's what Airbnb is using. Now let's get to the sexier part, selling better, right? So how can you sell better? How you can sell more for profit? The first thing you do is you sell more upfront, you sell more on the back end, and the third, you scale revenue triggers. Let me show you what I mean. Selling more upfront, meaning selling more in bundles. I mean, it sounds like a very basic idea, but you still need to do research, right? What will work for the bundle, what our competitors are charging, and how it works, and how much margin you can get. So there is that research part of the conversion optimization process. And then you need to test it if it actually works. And here I have an entrepreneur, he's a small entrepreneur, under 5 million. He sells on his site, but primarily on eBay and Amazon. He experimented with bundles, and now he just sells only bundles. Before he sold the boards, and now he sells bundles. And he applied the same approach to bikes for sports. Here we have example with the Zappos. They have specific pages that tell you the entire experience. So really, from jewelry part to everything, you just buy in one set. And the reason you do it because you always get more profit. And when I worked in companies like Walmart and eBay, when we're doing analysis of our profitability, bundles always sell. If you want to make your sales, you're not making your throw bundle. Here I have a great site, menpack.com. Pretty much sells underwear, condoms, and shapewear to men on subscription, so you don't have to go and do that. They basically take the same items you can get at Sears and they sell you on subscription, but they do it in such a fun and great way. I love these guys. So here they also sell it as a bundle. Here's a good example how they use the bundle in a very creative way. So here is a gift bag for girlfriends to give to their boyfriend. So let's say if you have a boyfriend who's a playboy, you can give him this gift bag. And what they did, they constructed this gift bag also through the analysis of the data on the back end. They use the system Intercom.io that allows you to take your customer service communications, your social media, everything that you have, all communication points with the customers, like with the ends, and really see what is happening, what they're responding to. So, and it's not costing a lot, it's pretty cheap. And then create segmented packages and test them, right, if customers are responding to them. So that's what the guys at Menpex did, and they sold 64% more of the premium product to their audience. Now check this out. So here again, they're selling to girlfriends. So if I have a boyfriend who is a high roller, I give him this bundle. If I have the one who is a native client, most of the guys in San Francisco are, I give him this one. But here, what they do, selling on the upfront, they're using bundles for one, then they're using personas, right? So they really know their users, but they're using it for different audience, not for the guys, but for women. So that's very creative and very smart, and it works. And of course, they use Intercom.io to validate all those tests based on how their audience is responding. If you're a much bigger retailer, let's say you have volume of customers and you have a lot of data, you really don't know who they are, but you have a lot of data, then you use tools like Optimotive that can take your data and normalize it, create a model, and then you can do your marketing campaigns and experiment in a much better way. So they use predictive analytics here. So in this conference, there were a lot of people who are data scientists because there is an eMetrics conference going on. And usually data scientist people are very expensive, right? And they're super smart, they can create these predictive models. But e-commerce entrepreneurs and us marketers, we don't have patience or time to do this, right? We need to sell very fast. Well, now these data scientists create companies like Optimotive, and they, which are pretty cheap too, from 5K to 20K. Which you can use, and they will create a model for you as long as you have the data, and then you can do your marketing better. So here, I have some screenshots of the system, how it works, how you can organize your campaigns. You have so much more better. Everything is tracked, everything on the background from the beginning to the end. Most retailers, most e-commerce companies, they don't even have this level of information. A lot of them don't use predictive analytics as much as they want to. But here is a good tool for entrepreneurs who want to get to profit first. So you can really see what works better, and then how much more money you can squeeze. So here, an example of a campaign that can bring you 78 grand if you run it. You still have to experiment with it and see if it works, right? But let's say the tool costs you 20 grand. With one campaign, you get a really good return on investment. So that's a no-brainer. And there I have some stats for them that you can check later. Now, the other thing that you do is you have to scale revenue triggers. And what I mean by revenue triggers? Revenue triggers are things that help you sell better. On the website, it could be one specific feature of functionality. When I was at Walmart or at eBay, I analyzed product pages, checkout pages, and I really prioritize each functionality, whether it's reviews, videos, so forth, brings more lift to conversion. And then I looked at the back end and saw what system power up those features and functionalities, if we can change the algorithm, if we do something different. And then I worked with the A/B testing team to validate some hypothesis or validate what they found. And then with the product team, we would change those pages. And now there are tools available like Turn2. If you know that, for example, Q&A brings you the most lift to conversion, then you really need to write that down for more and more. And what I mean that you have to scale the content for that feature. So maybe it's video, you create tons of content. You cannot just have a few videos. Or here it's Q&A, you have to have a lot of Q&A because in e-commerce, scale of content really helps with your marketing, and it should be good too. Now with Turn2 tool here, again, it doesn't cost a lot of money. It's again from 5 to 20K. You turn it on, and even if you don't have any Q&A, they have a system on the back end that connects with customers through the email, and then you start getting this communication, and it shows up on your product pages. So here, example with GoJane, when they implemented that with Turn2, they saw that the conversion rate for people who played with the tool, who wrote answers were 4 times, by a factor of 4 bigger than the baseline. And here we have a Dororama. I know we had somebody here in the audience from the company. Do we have it here? Yeah, so that's an example of what they did too. And here are some stats, on conversion rates from that specific functionality. So the idea here, you have to scale it. Now, the other thing that you need to do is you need to sign up people for your promotions, for your customer acquisition campaigns faster. And to do so, you really need to go advanced psychology. A lot of e-commerce companies don't do that because they're busy, they think they have ERP system, they can push a button, it will run. But you really need to go back into psychology and play mind games with people, or you can also play on their habits. And you also need to look what people and shoppers are mass conditioned to and do something different. And maybe you can even play a shark review. Let me show what I mean. So here we have a retailer that basically just implemented a quiz for some of the visitors and says, hey, take a quiz and learn what kind of furniture and style is better for you. And they've learned that people who took part in this quiz, they convert by a factor of 10 faster than the baseline. Basically what happens after this experience, I'm only shown, let's say, traditional furniture, if that's what I like. And that sounds pretty basic, but not a lot of people are using this. One e-commerce company or entrepreneur, StyleSlave, they use it for validation of their genome or recommendation engine. They needed people who would play with the tool. They needed significant size of users, so they had the same style game. And within 12 months, they got 50,000 people to play with that. Another thing that you can do is to play on people's habits. We are creatures of habit. And have you heard about EFTTP tool? Okay, only one person. Basically what this tool does, it helps you to create recipes. So when there is a certain Twitter message or email or something that you're tracking, it brings this information into your Evernote. So basically you can automate those actions. And some e-commerce companies are starting using this. So eBay right now created recipes for some of the resellers that can track specific items that go on sale or get bid. Or Fitbit, the company that sells, I think it's like a tracking device for your house, they create recipes for your activities so that you track better if you're on the goal, like if you're eating better, if you're running or so forth. So they're trying to embed themselves into the experience. And a lot of ours, we have a lot of apps, we have a lot of sites we go to. So as a brand, as an e-commerce site, if you can play up a little bit on habits, you can you can sign up people faster to your promotions or to whatever you do. Now, another way you can sign up people faster and sell them faster is to play against mass conditioning. Here, I have an example. We all experience this experience of gambling. And the reason why we love gambling or we get hooked up is because the reward, which is the victory, is randomized, right? Well, a lot of the times in marketing right now, a lot of things that are done are pretty predictive. So we can really know if I'm going to spend $7,000 on my Amex, I'm going to get $100 back, right, in cash. I'm going to continue doing this, but I'm not going to really spend more or do something else. And so what happens is that a lot of marketers using this fixed and predictive schedule, right? This comes from the psychology, from the Pavlov psychology. But the idea is that if you're not predictable here, right, then people will be responding much faster to and much better at a higher rate to your promotions. So it works for dating, it works for dogs, it works for e-commerce very well. But a lot of marketers don't use this tip. 99% they don't. So people don't get retained for a long time. So what Yankee.com did, they actually used this specific tactic. And so before they had emails going out every day, so that's a lot of operational cost in terms of marketing, right? People writing those emails. Well, they said, look, we're going to have a game. We're going to say it's going to be a random game, who gets lucky, and it's going to be randomized. And they of course announced that to shoppers. So shoppers got really excited because they knew there is this gamble going on, like in a casino. And they started coming back to sites more often and tried to play with the system. And so what the team started using, because they had high engagement and more traffic coming up, they stopped, and they even changed the schedule how they send their emails. Now they only send 2 emails a week, and their CTR is higher, they have higher lift. And what also happened, it really opened up resources to do real stuff, advanced stuff, which is conversion optimization, which they did too later. Now, I talked again about the loyalty marketing, that it really misses out on this randomization effect. There are other 6 things that are missing out, and I have an article on LinkedIn that I posted, 7 sins of loyalty marketers, so check it out, because you can also learn other tips on how to use psychology better to engage people faster. And now, finally, we have another game that some retailers do. They're playing the Shutter game. Do you know what I mean? Have you seen that? You know, name your price? All right. So basically, William Shutter has been in ads for name your price for, what's the company? Priceline? Yeah, Priceline. Well, basically, one retailer applied it to them. On their product pages, smartfurniture.com, put the functionality name your price. So here, I can put my email and I say, hey, I want this chair for $500. And then they said, okay, somebody's going to follow up with you. And I get this message from the vendor, which powers it up on the back end. And I also get a counter offer. If I accept the offer, I get the purchase. I mean, it sounds like very basic, right? But they ran this experiment, and that's what happened. The result they got from that, they got over 1 more million of extra revenue with people engaging with that. Their offer to order rate was 28%. So really, without that feature, 28% less customers were converting. The conversion rate was a little bit up, 8 basis points from the baseline, but still pretty good. And the average profit margin was much bigger. They found that people wanted less discount, like at 14%, 10% versus 30% that they ran on their promotions. So that really teaches you something about the audience. And the other piece is that they collected emails. So that, and all those people, even the ones who didn't take the counter offer, they retargeted after on Facebook, on other, on display so that they come back. So really, it was a very good experiment. So why we're all talking about it? Why do we care? Right? Let's go back to the ants example. If you really want to excel in e-commerce, if you want to get to profit faster, you need to apply conversion optimization process to business activities. But you do so using the mindset which is more expensive, like the green school example I shared. If you don't do this, you will be playing Hunger Games in the lush forest. So there will be a lot of other people, a lot of resources, but they will be wasted, right? But if you apply it, you can build the green school or that building that sustains itself and gets to profit even faster. Now, what happens is, in reality, most of e-commerce entrepreneurs are super busy, they don't have the time to brainstorm these ideas, to adopt this mindset. But now you have these 3 secrets what you can do. And if you don't want to do the work, or somebody you know who is an e-commerce entrepreneur, they don't have the time, I did the work already and put all this information in the book. In my book, I have over 67 lessons from entrepreneurs, over 200 tips, strategies, and then 92 or more tools. So I only listed a few of them, but the book has more. And the idea was also to share the tools that medium-sized or small entrepreneurs can use, so that you don't need to have 100K to cash out to use some system. Really, some stuff that even big companies like shopping.com or others use. Like I was at shopping.com, and you think it's part of eBay, you have a big budget. No. I had to create a lot of scalable content, a lot of things to be produced, 100 articles, and I was able to use it with one tool that I share in the book. If you want to get $10 off the print copy, you can follow this link. And this is the experience you're going to have. I had to explain it because some people get confused. So basically, I will email you that promo code, and you can check out Create Space and get your print copy. On that, thank you very much, and I will open to questions.